Hello, and thanks for tuning into the show that goes around the continent to bring you stories near and far. I'm Joke Rogers at Channels Television here in Lagos, and I'm joined by Vincent Makori from the Voice of America in Washington, D.C.
Thanks, I'm Vincent Makori at the Voice of America. Happy to be with you again for another edition of Africa 54. And let's start off with the latest from Nigeria. Joke Rogers in Lagos brings you that story.
A world-class business hub for the tailoring industry is to be established in Benue State, north-central Nigeria, by the federal government within the next 3 months. Vice President Kashim Shettima announced this at the flag-off ceremony of the expanded national MSME clinics in Benue State. He reiterates the commitment of the present administration towards developing small and medium enterprises as part of efforts to tackle joblessness in the country. Our State House correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
The IBB Square in Makurdi, the Benue State capital, the venue of the first MSME clinic under the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu, comes alive with 1,000 MSME service providers. From the food and beverages service in the hospitality industry to indigenous pharmaceutical manufactured products to agricultural mechanization inputs, the MSMEs are gathered as the Vice President Kashim Shettima arrives on a tour of the exhibition desk.
Put your hands together for the best governor.
The governor lauds the initiative that is expected to empower local fabric makers and the many food supply businesses.
From fashion to food and entertainment, they have successfully showcased the talent and potential of our local entrepreneurs. Their contribution to various industries has helped put Benue on the map.
Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger.
The Vice President says the reason the first MSME clinic is holding in Benue is to appreciate the support of Benue State in the development of MSMEs.
We must seize this moment to forge a path of prosperity, to leverage the resources at our disposal, to create a thriving ecosystem for the growth and success of our micro, small and medium enterprises.
Some of the MSME service providers speak on the benefit of the clinic.
We're also advocating and encouraging people to farm and consume what they farm. When they eat safe, healthy and nutritious food, they save money, they save themselves from all other diseases that may come from it.
It is a call for us to wake up, to fill the gap, to show the world that Nigeria can also do it.
This is the first time local businesses and MSME service providers will converge in Benue, a state that is predominantly civil service driven. But the current administration in the state says it is working with the federal government to reset the state economy to a private sector driven one.
Joining us to discuss this initiative is Chief Economist Streetnomics Gospel Obele. He joins us from London, the United Kingdom. A pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So how much impact do you think this kind of hub will have on the tailoring industry in Benue State, as well as its impact on the MSME ecosystem?
Well, if done right, will be a move in the right direction in terms of creating opportunities for upskilling, young people, women, and men, people in that space, and giving them something of value that they can, apply themselves to and take to mainstream market, which would invariably sort of support the ecosystem in the state. And that can also be some form of transfer value creation for that North Central block, scaling up to adding to economic activities and all the likes. That's if done rightly. To a very large extent as well, it also comes timely, taking into consideration the cost of living crisis that people are faced with in Nigeria, particularly as well in that region. So it sort of gives people an alternative to have newer streams of income that they can explore with, and then grow to become part of the new economic prosperity agenda, hopefully.
Right. And in what ways do you think that the MSME clinic will contribute to job creation and economic empowerment, especially within a sector like tailoring?
Well, it can contribute in many ways, and that's really dependent on if it's done correctly, if it's done rightly. And emphasis on emphasis on that, because many times we've seen loads and loads of MSME clinics that are very disjointed. Right from the how people are being mobilized into the clinics. We don't even get to know if the tailoring thing is their area of passion and interest, or if you can even give them a sense of ownership, to sort of learn these skills and how these skills will be of value to them. So we lack that ability to properly onboard, both people that have the interest and people that can learn the interest. So if we don't sort of onboard them correctly, they will begin to lose the potential of that, of this initiative or this program to yield job creation or economic development within the region. After the training, is there post-training access to market solutions for these people? I mean, such that they're being able to actually start the business in that regard, and they can, actually begin to apply themselves to it, have access to industry or even local machines to start with, and then who would be off-taking from them? Is there a buyer's market for the skills that they will be churning out? Is there a sort of a mechanism to measure the impact of not just these trainings, but post-training impact, especially when it ties down to establishing new businesses, creating new jobs, and empowering the local economy, and also creating some form of awareness around Made in Nigeria as well? Because once that campaign can flag off and there's an increased awareness among the local people, it now becomes much more of more economic benefit, because you're now facilitating both demand side and supply side for tailoring or fashion design, as well as wearables in the region.
So how much of an impact do you think the MSMEs clinic have been in promoting a suitable business environment? You did say it's not just about training, it's about an end-to-end issue. So since they've been going from state to state, taking a look at what the locals can do and helping them to improve on their efforts and making their products more marketable, not just to Nigerians, but elsewhere in the world, how much of an impact do you think it has created so far?
Well, it has not really made much impact in terms of mainstream, and that's because just very few young people or people who have participated in such government initiatives have really been able to build something out of it. And not even just to build something out of it, take something that would fly both regionally, both African-wise, and also internationally. One of my very, very top of mind approach I would have thought they would engage. It can be a government idea, but you also need to find a way to partner with forward-thinking, enterprise-driven social institutions like, let's say, like Faith Foundation now, who can help not just deliver the MSME clinic, but have a holistic approach to supporting young people or these stakeholders to become part of something big. So, I mean, in recent times, we've not really seen much of that. And that's actually very evident, across MSME clinics in Nigeria over time past. People get trained, and to a large extent, half of the people are not interested, or they don't even know what they're doing there. And then after they get trained or get a certificate, half of them again do not have access to the tools they need to literally start. Even when they have access to start, they are not registered. They're not under a coordinated regulatory body that can help to ensure that they gain all the support they need, they gain all the technical advice they need to run their businesses, or at least they can be part of an ecosystem that supports them and helps them reach the goals faster for the local economy as well as for the primary business that they're doing. So we've had all those gaps to deal with. And also in context to even when they create something really good, what are the processes to ensure that a made in Nigerian product can access international market? We still have lots of gap when it comes to access to market and access to finance situation in Nigeria. There is need to have a one-stop shop, responsive one-stop shop, where these stakeholders who have learned these skills can actually plug in to an opportunity for them to get their products out there through the ASCFTA route, to Western markets where Nigerian fashion and Nigerian music is evolving. All right, so the opportunities are there, but there has to be a comprehensive yet strategic end-to-end support program, and there has to be an incentive for people to sort of.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. After the break, a Sudanese filmmaker's journey to Kenya when war forced him to leave everything behind. Welcome back to Africa 54. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. When an award-winning Sudanese filmmaker documented the journey of Sudan's martial arts team, which traveled by road to Kenya for an international championship in 2019, he did not know that 4 years later he would be taking a similar path in the film journey to Kenya, but for completely different reasons. VOA's Nairobi Bureau Chief Mariama Diallo recently attended the screening of his movie and those of other Sudanese filmmakers and has this story.
It's a journey the group thought would take 2 to 3 days from Sudan to Kenya via Ethiopia to participate in an international jiu-jitsu competition in Nairobi, but it turned out to be full of surprises.
It took us 6 days, days sleeping in the car, days sleeping at a gas station in the car. And I remember that there was a coup in Ethiopia. We had no internet and we couldn't follow the map, so we lost the road.
The hardest part for me was just sitting in the car there, it was so long.
They made it to Nairobi 2 hours before the competition started, and they made their country proud. Screening the movie for the first time in Nairobi felt different, Snoopy told us. He recently had to make a similar trip again because of the war in Sudan over the past 5 months.
Right now, I'm living my movie, not living with the characters like in before as a filmmaker. And I went through the same thing, and it was so painful because I traveled for 18 hours from Ethiopia to Kenya borders, and from Kenyan borders to here 19 hours.
Rafa Reynas, another filmmaker, also debuted a short documentary about an unusual beauty salon in Khartoum. The salon is also a sanctuary for women across Sudan, fleeing domestic violence.
I got married in 2017. The first 6 months, we were in a good place. After 6 months, my life turned 180 degrees. Then started the verbal abuse, hitting.
The domestic violence, the harassment outside, even the rape, a lot of stuff going on. So I'm just trying to, tell the story in a creative way that's I'm not attacking the man. I'm just giving the woman space.
While these filmmakers have found a new place to live in Kenya, they also hope to someday be able to document the war at home in Sudan. Mariama Diallo, VOA News, Nairobi.
The Director General of the Industrial Training Fund, Dr. Afiz Ogun, has announced plans to begin the formal registration of all artisans across the country. Dr. Ogun, who was speaking at a meeting with members of the Artisans Trade Association in Abuja, explains that the move will help in fast-tracking its plan for the training of 20 million artisans over a period of 4 years.
This meeting between the management of the Industrial Training Fund and members of the Artisans Trade Association is one which seeks to provide better opportunities for Nigerians who want their skills honed in their chosen field of trade. The ITF outlines the importance of registering their enterprises for better services at home and beyond the shores of Nigeria.
When you jabber with knowledge, when you jabber with skill, Nigeria will be better. Don't jabber to go and wash toilet or watch dead bodies. Jabber with skill from government to government. Then you can raise your shoulder. Who says jabber is not good? Jabber is good if well managed, and that's what we want to do.
Part of the plan to engage artisans in the nation's socio-economic development is the training of 20 million Nigerians across all levels.
Thank you very much.
Outside the hall, the Director General of the Industrial Training Fund and some artisans speak on the intervention.
Inside this drum is where the production hub is, where we are going to take care of everybody stage by stage. And by the time they come out of that, some will come out as entrepreneurs, some will come out and go abroad, some will come out and get them good jobs. So those that go abroad, we come back, they'll bring dollars home. They transfer their money home. You understand? So economy is better.
We are looking at having maybe 1.5 from the total 5 million because we are going into the seized geopolitical zone. I'm taking the advocacy out there to the marketplace, to schools, in fact, this will also bring us into the lady mechanic after school club in public secondary school where we get them young.
The government has previously introduced policies which aims at benefiting artisans, but Nigerians will be keenly observing how this ambitious initiative unfolds in the days to come. Sarah Chimogu, Channels Television News.
Online digital influencers make millions of dollars selling products and services on social media. But with developments in artificial intelligence, these human internet celebrities are facing competition from metaverse avatars who never stop to sleep. Idina Michelle has the story in this edition of Logan.
Virtual teen influencer Nunori is the first digital character to get a record deal, releasing her first single in September with Warner Music. Her voice was generated with the help of artificial intelligence, or AI.
The love you show for my first song and music video, Dominoes, is incredible and touches me so deeply.
Nunori has already collaborated with fashion houses Dior, Versace, and Marc Jacobs, and is now capitalizing on advancements in generative AI to create music. Some argue that virtual influencers have an advantage over their human competitors. They never tire, complain, or have to watch their figure, and they are more controllable, which is appealing to marketers. With 2.7 million Instagram followers, Lil Miquela is one of the biggest earners amongst virtual influencers, bringing in an estimated $11 million a year for her team, according to Forbes.com.
Wow.
Like Nunori, Lil Miquela collaborates with high-end brands and models, and she has even appeared in a Calvin Klein campaign kissing top model Bella Hadid. It seems even with virtual influencers, sex sells, which some say is concerning. For example, behind the young female Nunori are many men. She is the brainchild of German graphic designer Jörg Zuber, and her voice is generated from two male vocalists, which is worth paying attention to, said AI expert and musician Holly Herndon.
We might end up with a kind of like all male writing, styling, lyricist team creating this kind of like perfect woman.
Herndon says for an artist, there is a sense of freedom in creating an avatar that is different from yourself. But there needs to be lots of conversations to ensure those being represented are not marginalized. As the field of generative AI continues to skyrocket, expect to see more virtual influencing. Dina Mitchell, VOA News.
The Vice President, Kashim Shettima, is urging Nigerians to embrace peaceful coexistence to catalyze development across the country. He made the call during the commissioning of the 5-kilometer Masaka-Luvu-Madaki Road in Karu local government area of Nasarawa State. Our correspondent, Halima Gayam, reports.
Stakeholders in Nasarawa State converge on Luvu-Madaki community for the commissioning of the 5-kilometer Luvu-Madaki Road of Karu local government area. The state government constructed the road to create access to the federal government's 248 housing unit estate in the area, as well as the proximity of the area to the federal capital territory.
We, the citizens of this community, we really finding it so difficult in times of rainy season. The road was not just good, but for now, I believe everybody is seeing the good work of our governor. He has really tried.
It was very terrible, very terrible. We found it very difficult to bring other things to support our business places. But now, God so kind, development is at hand.
A commission should and must be established, which is to be FCT
Area, MCT Catchment Area Development Commission, which will now seek to create a common profile that will see from source to the contiguous states contributing to it, MCT and federal government as well contributing, so that that profile will be utilized to be taking care of the socio-economic problems of communities like Cairo and the rest of all.
Vice President Kashim Shettima is performing the commissioning exercise and is accompanied by the host, Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State, and other government officials. Beyond the completion of the road, the Vice President makes case for peaceful coexistence to engender infrastructural development in the state.
Nasarawa State is a kaleidoscope of colors that represents the Nigerian nation. I will give him greater credit to maintain the delicate peace in Nasarawa State. There can never be peace without development, and there can never be development without peace.
Governor Abdullahi Saleh urges the people to ensure proper maintenance of the road, promising to do more across the state.
We will be responsible for the maintenance of this road because I want to thank the contractor for providing adequate drainages that we have for this road. With the adequate drainages that he has, this road should be able to be there for at least 15 years before we even talk about any maintenance.
The people who have already put the road to use are hoping that the road will unlock the economic potential of the community. Halima Gayam, Channels Television News.
Drought-stricken northern Kenya faces the worst dry spell in 40 years, with more than 5 million people affected. Worse still, a relentless invasive plant is unleashing even more devastation on the environment, livestock and livelihood. Francis Ontomo reports from Isiolo, Kenya.
Isiolo, situated in the upper eastern region of Kenya, is home to the Borana people, a pastoralist minority. Amidst a severe drought, pockets of vibrant greenery define the arid landscape. But lurking beneath the surface is an invisible menace, Prosopis juliflora, locally known as madenge, a relentless drought-resistant invader that is causing immense suffering to both livestock and people. Abdi Tadicha knows this all too well.
I have suffered countless losses due to madenge. As pastoralists, we entirely depend on our livestock. It is our everything. We sell our livestock to fend for our families and pay our children's school fees. The introduction of this plant to our locality was a menace to our lives.
Tadicha shows me the tragic impact on his flock. Goats with missing teeth, struggling to eat. He tells me starvation is imminent. It's just a matter of time.
I have lost so much, as you can see. Some of my goats have lost their teeth due to chewing the plant's pods, and this has affected their jaws. They're now crisscrossed.
And it's not only livestock. People pricked by madenge thorns bear wounds that are difficult to heal. This foreign invader from tropical America was brought in the 70s to combat desertification and erosion in the Rift Valley and northern Kenya. While it initially helped, madenge now reigns supreme, destroying biodiversity and crippling pastoral economies.
The government must listen to us when we now say that this is a big problem. We are Kenyans just like everyone else. We want to be helped, to have these trees uprooted from our area to allow us to replace them with indigenous trees. We want to look like the rest of Kenya.
This is Ewasonyiro River, the lifeblood of northern Kenya. This water source has not been spared by the effects of climate change. It's diminishing by the day and further reduced by madenge growing on its banks. Jilo Bokeside, a local activist with the group Northern Vision, is rallying his community to combat this menace. He is drafting a petition urging the local county government to help residents reclaim their land, one madenge tree at a time. They want to replace them with indigenous trees, at the same time make a living from charcoal and timber.
It is now or never. We have to wake up, each and every one of us, at his own capacity, try to do something. Let us remove this invasive plant, this curse that is with us.
Experts advocate for mechanical control to stop Mathenge spread.
Invasive plant species are plants that are being spread across the country, across the world, by individuals because people don't know them. So the number one thing is information for people to be able to identify these plants. The second thing is once you have been able to identify them, stop moving them.
The Kenyan government estimates some 1 million hectares are already colonized in more than 20 counties. In 2008, the country declared Mathenge a noxious weed after a public uproar. A national strategy and action plan was developed for its management, proposing 4 approaches: biological, chemical, utilization, and mechanization. But for the local community, this document is another catalogue of familiar promises. Their hope hinges on the government keeping its word. Francis Ontomwa, VOA News, Isiolo, Kenya.
Well, and that's our show for today. You can find all the continent's top news and world news online at voaafrica.com. Check it out. I'm Vincent Makori in Washington. Channels Television has our last word.
We look forward to bringing you another show next week. To remember that channelstv.com is your source for news and other programming. I'm Joke Rogers. Thanks for watching and goodbye.